Ready to go?
Yep.
All right. So, guys, welcome along to the May webinar 2022. You would have noticed we didn't have one in April because there were 2 long weekends, and Robbie were full on with the sales the last month.
Well, that's right, Corey. Yeah, we've been flat out with sales everywhere, but very rewarding. Sydney Easter was good, very expensive, but good for us. And then we followed up with the total opposite in the gold sale in Melbourne. But we're finished up now, so we can concentrate on you completing that task for us, and we get to get a webinar together tonight. So it was great that Antony can join us and catch up on the other side of the scale of how it all works in the breeding barn.
Yeah, I was going to mention that we had a special guest on, and obviously we bought a couple of Zoo Stars at the sales. There's none of those left because they fly out the door. But Antony, welcome along. So what I'll do to start with is I'll throw the floor to you, and if you could give us a little bit of your background, 7th generation Thompson and Widden Farm.
Yeah, we're very unique in not only Australia's history, but the world breeding history of 7 generations of the one family owning the same farm. And that makes us the oldest family-owned farm in the world, which is quite surprising considering Australia's very short history on world scale. But horse studs traditionally don't have that generational longevity. We're a bit unique that where we are, I guess our big advantage is the environment. We're set in an amazing valley. It's a deep valley right in the middle of the Great Dividing Range, about an hour and a bit from Scone, surrounded by World Heritage National Park. It's if you haven't been to Widden, you should come and visit us. And if you have, I'm sure you wouldn't forget it. It's an incredible place and an amazing sanctuary for horses. Certainly, we're lucky to call it home. So I'm fortunate to really call myself the caretaker of Widden, because as the generations have gone on, the Thompsons who have been lucky enough to look after the farm and run it have really been in that position to try and put their stamp on it. In my time there, hopefully we can breed some great horses, we can improve the farm and the facilities, look after the environment, and really do something pretty special in that special place. I'm lucky enough that we're having a good run at the moment. We've got some very good stallions, we've bred some very nice horses, and being there, it's sort of something that is not lost on me. I realise what a great position I'm in. We've extended the footprint of the farm. When I brought my sisters out, we were under 8,000 acres. We're over 10,000 acres there now. Done a lot with the facilities, the fencing, buildings, and also the mares and the stands we have, which is really the backbone of the farm. So it's important, I see, that you look at what you can put back into the farm, and the whole time we're trying to improve the facilities, make it the pastures better, the paddocks safer, the ongoing facilities, all about the horse really. We're not building statues or tarring roads. We're doing everything for the horse as you guys do. So with that, you've got to reinvest heavily into brood mares and stallions, because as a farm you're really only as good as last Saturday and the Saturday before that. So you keep reinvesting into the bloodstock, and we're building a nice stallion roster across the 2 farms. We have expanded in Victoria, which was really exciting. Last year was the first time we ever really put the Widden brand on anything outside the Widden Valley, and we were lucky enough to secure a nice existing property in Victoria off Sun Stud, which we took over and rebranded as Widden Victoria. With that, we picked up some very nice stallions, and we're just there at Romsey, so 20 minutes from the airport, 40 minutes from Flemington, an hour to the city. It's a really handy location for us to get to because Widden's quite isolated. So when we do get to Victoria, it's quite handy. It's not nearly the size; it's only 550 acres. So it's not, the management challenges aren't nearly as hard. But we've got 17 stallions across the 2 farms, 9 in New South Wales, 8 in Victoria. And we've got a great team around us, like anyone in the horse business. it's not a one-man band, it's a real team effort. And across the two operations, we're very lucky. We've got some great people who've been with us a long time and some really exciting new people on board, particularly in Victoria. But, you know, Derek Field has been at Widden nearly 40 years, David Merrick, the stud grooms, 35. And you go down the line, there's a lot of really solid Widden people. And, you know, there's a lot of great people in the industry who've done their apprenticeship at Widden and now they run their own farms or own their own farms. So we're, you know, all about the horses, and the people is really the foundation of Widden's success. We're lucky we've got the environment, as I said, and then if we can get the other two things right, I reckon we can have plenty of luck and breed some good horses. So that's sort of us in a nutshell of the Widden. My history, I guess, is growing up on the farm. I kind of from a young age, I never really wanted to do anything else. My father passed away when I was quite young, so just before my 8th birthday. So I always just wanted to get there and run the farm. And from a young age, that sort of motivation or drive came very early. So I just set about doing that, and I was probably in a bit of a hurry to do it. And I went home when I was, you know, before my 21st birthday, having worked overseas, travelled, and tried to learn as much as I could, as quick as I could. I couldn't wait to get home. So I threw myself in the deep end at a young age and got involved in the management of the farm and set around, you know, making it what it is today.
And now I did a bit of research, Anthony, and it says, obviously, you know, you look across the Widden Valley now like John Dutton would look across Yellowstone. But I guess, obviously, you know, you left school at 17 years of age. Like you said, your father passed away when you were 8. You had this huge legacy that you felt like you had to get involved in. You know, you covered New Zealand, London, Kentucky along the way. But I read a quote that you said Jack Ingham had told you that breeding was for a young man's game, and if you waited until you could afford it, it might be too late. And it's what I read is that you borrowed significantly in the early days to actually get yourself to the stage that you are now. It wasn't just all, you know, you didn't just take over something that was generational and it was all given to you. You had to work as a youngster to get there.
Yeah. I mean, I did have a fair head start, but I didn't. It wasn't all just silver spoon. I certainly am proud of what we did, and you know, we've made plenty of, I guess, sort of bold decisions where we put a lot on the line, and you know, with no outside income, basically everything that is Widden is through the horses we breed. So when you're competing with guys who, you know, certainly Ingham's and they're great friends of ours, but they had the luxury of their chicken business, and the Sheikhs have the luxury of the oil dollars and you know, being ruler of your own country, and some of the other companies, you know, find themselves with bigger checkbooks. But I think our advantage was having our hand on the shank of the horse and leading him into the breeding shed, and you know, being around, having your boots muddy there on the farm every day, and being in a position where, you know, we could talk to people, and you know, when they're talking to the principal and you can move pretty quickly, things happen. And I guess that was, you know, you had to play to what your strengths were, and we're able to do that and secure some nice stallions, and really sort of get on with it. And yeah, it was Jack Ingham who really gave me the confidence. He was a friend of Dad's, and he was a very successful business guy, and from a young age he'd been involved in breeding and racing, a very passionate racing man. And he said to me, you know, you just got to take the risk while you're young, get in and get it done, because, you know, he said that so much of this business is energy, and young guys bring a lot of that, and they're good to have around. So he said, you know, use the wisdom of the guys that are there, Derek and David and those guys, but inject your energy, and it'll be a great partnership. And that was really good advice, and that's sometimes you just need a bit of a push to the confidence. probably a bit the way Matthew's sort of had a bit of a push, and to come, leave the safety of South Africa and branch out and put his own stamp on it and step out of his dad's shadow and make it on his own way, and the same way it probably has brought a bit of energy and some fresh ideas to Robbie. We found ourselves in the same situation when I was starting out with the guys that were there, and then I came along, and it worked really well.
Yeah, fantastic, really. And Robbie, you would obviously, Widden started a huge brand, but I'll just click to the next page. Like, look at that stallion roster, and the most exciting part of that is how young they are. So Robbie, as somebody that owns broodmares himself, that's an impressive lineup.
Oh, I think it's an unbelievable lineup, and now that it covers 2 states, it's the breeders are spoiled for choice, from young, fresh stallions that are just joining the roster to, the top stallions that are proven if you want to spend that volume of money and to put your progeny in Sydney Easter or whatever the case is with the Zoo Star. So, I think it's a great opportunity for breeders to have a smorgasbord of opportunity, from stayers to sprinters to fresh young stallions and so on. With our mare, Hal Horson's mum, Flourishing, will go to Magnus again, and our young mares have gone to Doubtland and so on. And we've got a Speedo and all sorts of different pedigrees there amongst some of our mares that have gone that way. And I don't think one took the Russian Camelot. I'm not sure there, but so just on the Victorian roster there. So Zoo Star's a bit out of our league at the moment, Anthony. We're not quite there yet.
We had to buy those at the sales, Robbie.
Had to buy those at the sales, but
cheaper to breed than buy, Robbie. But you bought 2 nice ones this year. So you were very solid on the bandwagon. Thank you. Of course, you and Magnus, hand in hand. Magnus means money is one of those great quotes I think you came up with, and plenty of people agree. He's been very good to you. I guess, starting with the Hunter Stallions, of course, Zoo Star's the headline act. He's a very exciting young sire. He's, only had what's now his 5th crop of just coming up to racing age. Champion 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th season sire. His progeny earnings have cracked 50 million already. He's, gets gun 2-year-olds, the Sunlight, and he's turned up with really classy sprinters, and then horses that are really racing on at top level as well. So he's very, very popular around the sales. Gets a great type of horse, a trainer's horses, lovely temperaments, lovely actions, and now hopefully this year we'll see his first 2-year-olds racing in Europe, which is a really exciting thing for us as well. We've shuttled him up to our friends and partners, David Redvers at Tween Hills, and so we're looking forward to seeing them start to race up there. We've got 2 stallions, I guess, were new at the yearling sales this year. You would have seen plenty of Trapeze Artist and Written By yearlings. Obviously, Trapeze Artist. Yeah, they both sold really well. Thanks, Robbie. And he, of course, Trapeze by Schnitzel, was a champion sprinter, the world's highest rated sprinter. A big Group 1 winner, the right races, the Golden Rose, the TJ Smith, we
might have to breed one of those, Anthony, because we couldn't get near them at the sales.
We'll find you one. Don't worry, we'll find you one. They were very popular. So it'll be interesting to see them come out and run this year as Written By. Of course, a Victorian horse. He won a Blue Diamond. He was a gun 2-year-old, won his first 5 starts at 2, trained by Graham Begg down there. He was good at 3. He should, like Written Tycoons, Gun Fast Sun. So he's very, very popular as well at the sales. Then we head into sort of the stallions. Zoo Sane will see his first foals just selling. We've got foal sales coming up this week, and then in Queensland. So you'll see some Zoo Sane start to sell at the foal sale. Anders, Very Fast Sun and Not a Single Doubt. He's just got mares in foal. We then move through to of course, Speedo. He's a horse that I think is a real sleeper. He was very quick. He loved the Flemington Straight. Son of Sebring, and I think he's going to make it. Bred by Rick Jamison, Gilguy, down in Victoria, trained by Michael Kent, and I think he could be a really important stay-in for us. He's only had half a dozen runners. They've all shown a lot. He's had a couple of very nice winners. Stupendo was very good at Flemington and in the Magic Millions. He's got a very good horse in Perth that's been staked, performed on 3 occasions over there, Costa's Crown. And everyone who has a Sapedo is really excited about them. So he's certainly a watch horse. And then the 2 new horses this year in the Hunter, of course, Portland Sky, is a Group 1 winner of an Oakley Plate by Deep Field. He won the Oakley Plate as a 3-year-old, which is a hard thing to do. I think Schnitzel's done it, Fastnet Rock's done it, Star Spangled Banner's done it, but very, very few have done it. And then Rebel Dane's an interesting horse. He is a real journeyman. He's only had 14 runners. He's had 7 winners, 6 placed. Of course, he's had the Golden Slipper winner this year, Fireburn, 3 stakes performers. So he could be a freak of a stay-in that's really upgrading some fairly average mares. So that's a really solid roster in the Hunter, and I think that's going to keep us pretty busy this season. And then on top of that, I think we've got some beautiful stay-ins in Victoria, particularly with a Vobis in mind. When you look at size of winners down there, 3 of the top 4 are right there, and they're not expensive. Nakoni, Magnus, and Star Witness, they're all in the 90s. They're all about to crack 100 winners for the season. You've got, with those Vobis horses, if you're buying a horse or breeding a horse, you want one that gets you a horse that a lot of winners and horses that win multiple races. And you see that as you'd see Robbie's had so much success with Magnus, horses that have just won so much money, going through your stable. Of course, that great coat after King Magnus, he's a horse that's just, every time you send him, every prep, he wins a stack. Magnus Means Money was spot on, and he's a great value sire. Nakoni's, of course, sire of Nature Strip. Yeah.
26 out of 27, Robbie. That last Magnus of yours needs to kick a goal.
Is that right? Is it?
Yeah, 26.
You've had 27 Magnuses.
26 winners.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's the best advertisement there is for him. I don't need to say any more.
I think Halvorsen just won over $1 million, and King Magnus has won just under 900 or 900,000. So it's not bad coming off a service fee. So of that, so they're terrific value. And as you say, Nakoni's terrific value, isn't he? For having a horse like Nature Strip and a horse like that, So yeah.
Yeah, of course it was. And how good was he? They had Standish. You had, I forgot to mention him. Sorry, but yeah, he's a beauty for you as well.
And he can run up. You can go run second in a William Reed, so he can get a bloody good horse, Magnus. He's so underrated, isn't he?
Yeah, you've got those good proven stays. Of course, Fiorente is a Melbourne Cup winner, and he had some lovely stayers. Russian Camelot, who knows what he could have been, but the bit we saw of him to win he was basically a 2-year-old against the 3-year-olds when he won the Derby.
Has he been well supported, Russian Camelot?
Yeah, he has. He covered over 130 mares last year. A lot of really nice mares, a good lot of breed to race people. I think he really captured the imagination as a racehorse. A lot of Victorians loved him as a racehorse. He's such a special horse to see and to deal with. He's an incredibly intelligent horse. He has a huge presence. And I'm sure when we get to the sales and you bring out a Russian Camelot, if you buy a Russian Camelot, shares will just sell like you wouldn't believe, because he's that sort of horse. And of course, Doubtland's that really fast, not a single doubt horse as well. Very good looking, $1.1 million yearling. He's a really commercial horse. The job that Extreme Choice is doing and the job that Not a Single Doubt did himself. Again, he's a great addition, and he'll be very popular. So yeah, really nice stay-in roster. Nothing too expensive, a lot of value there, and bang for your buck. And I think really covers a lot of bases. That doesn't matter who your mares buy, you can find a stay in there that really suits them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he is
Matt,
an-
obviously, oh, sorry, I'll just touch for Matt there, Robbie, because we haven't heard from him yet. But obviously, Matt, with your dad coming down this year, we were looking to buy Zoo Stars last year and we found them very hard to buy. We bought one who won his trial by 7 lengths. So that was a good advertisement. But we bought 2 this year, and obviously, we spent a bit of time in Sydney. We went and met the Widden guys and that sort of thing, and they actually stayed in a share of one of the Zoo Stars we bought. But the stallion roster, from your perspective, coming down and seeing a big operation like Widden, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Corey, I haven't said anything because I've been just in awe of listening to Anthony, and it's I love a farm with so much tradition, especially that Widden has. And like you said, we've been going out looking for Zoo Stars, and we managed to land on 2, and both were from Widden. So I've been told that through my years in learning that you got to buy from farms that produce winners, and Widden's one of those places where you go shopping for winners. So we're lucky enough to have got 2 from Widden, and just sitting back and watching and listening to Anthony talk about his stallion roster. It's pretty remarkable how strong a team that Anthony's built up there with. And you can almost just close your eyes and throw a dart at the dartboard per se, and whatever it lands on, just go with that, because the stallions are all so competitive. One stallion I wanted to ask Anthony about, which he hasn't really spoken about much, and it's fairly new and maybe very new to everyone around the world, is National Defense. I've seen, when I was reading up about him before the sales, that he had already produced a Breeders' Cup winner. Is that correct, Anthony?
Yeah, he's obviously a high class horse raced in Europe, and we haven't seen much of him yet. Just his first yearlings through the sale, but he's come out with a Breeders' Cup winner from his first crop, and he's had some, had a runner at Ascot, and he's had some really nice 2-year-olds in Europe. So he's certainly a horse to follow. There's not a lot of National Defences around. He's only had some smaller books, but certainly if you did see one of the yearling stars, you'd be very keen to get your hands on it, and he'll be an interesting horse to follow. Hopefully, he can come out with his first crop like he has done up in the north with the Breeders' Cup winner.
We might ask some questions now, Anthony. So for all of those people that are following the webinar, feel free to, in the Q&A function there, ask as many questions as you would like. So the first one is Genevieve Gill just asked, are you able to tell us about Bel Esprit and why he's not on the list?
Yeah, Bel Esprit, of course, the Sire Black Caviar is a big part of Widden Victoria. That's where she was conceived, and he's there on the farm. He's been retired from active serving, but he's still on the farm, and he's got a home there for life. He'll be very well cared for. It was really a decision at his age. We covered a dozen mares with him last year, and he has quite arthritic hocks, and the physical covering of the mares puts a lot of pressure on the hocks, and it was really starting to show on him. So we thought he's better off to live his days out rather than ask him for any more. He's given plenty to the Australian industry, and certainly he's been an amazing servant for the whole Victorian industry and the whole of Australia. Black Caviar is one of the greatest. So we'll still parade him. You'll still get to see him if you come to Widden Victoria, but we just think he's sort of at the point where he can relax and enjoy the rest of his days.
Yeah, and as obviously, your roster's amazing, but you must be able to identify them, and it's a skill set. So I guess that this is a 3-part question. Firstly, how do you identify them? Secondly, how do you go about acquiring them? And then, are there any out there that you may have, you would have loved to have had on your roster, but maybe haven't been able to put them on your roster when you would have liked?
How do we identify them? It's the same as you guys. You work hard. I've seen Robbie and Matthew and the whole team at the yearling sales. You're up early. You've done the work on the catalogue. You're looking at every horse, and you're using your professional judgment, your skill set, and that's a lifetime's work. But what works in the pedigree, what for you, what works in the sire line and what type you like, and all the little things that you guys identified. So we're the same with stallions. We obviously we're really interested in the race performance, the type of horse we're going to breed, and the pedigree is the sort of broad thing. And then on top of that, there's a lot of gut feel. There's some horses that everyone else has sort of got the checkbook out and going crazy, and they just don't really get you. And there's other horses where you're dying a ditch and you're like, whatever it takes, we're gonna get this horse, sort of thing. And that's kind of just like any horse. When you see something that really excites you, you kind of feel it, and it's not really just doing the spreadsheets or looking at the numbers or that. It's just comes from deep inside, where you see a stallion, you think he can be a life changer, and you think he's going to suit your mares. You're going to breed some really nice horses, and you just want to go out and get him, and that's where you have to go. So once you've seen that horse, it's very competitive, like anything in the horse business and in life. But when you're trying to secure a good stallion prospect, it's enormously competitive. There's plenty of billionaires out there playing in that space. So yeah, you have to go in hard, you have to go in smart, and you have to go in fast. And understanding the owner of the stallion, what they want, is probably the key. Because if you're waving around the biggest checkbook, it might not just secure the horse, because the owners, they want to be involved, they want to be a part of the process. And it doesn't matter how much you pay for a stallion. If he's a champion stallion, he's going to earn you 10 times that. So the people who own that horse, they're well enough educated, they're smart enough to know that whatever the upfront offer is, if he's as good as a horse as they think he could be, or he could be, the back end of the deal is going to be so much greater than the front end of the deal. So we're always happy to talk to the owners, trying to understand what they want, what the trainer wants, the guys around the horse. And trainers are a big part of the ownership decisions nowadays. So quite often they're representing some of the smaller owners and across all those guys as well. So there's a lot of that, getting to know the owners and structuring a deal that works. So that's like anything, if you get to understand that, and if you guys are trying to do any deal, I'm sure that's part of it, the same way we do it. And the third part of your question, is there many we'd love to have? Yeah, sure, there are. There's been some near misses. We've gone very hard on a few really big important stallions, and they hurt you a bit. But then there's other times where we've got some of those stallions and they've been fantastic for us. So as a young guy, we had a big crack at Redute's Choice, and that one would have been a life changer. Probably, at the time everyone was, it was really early days in the stallion business, and people were saying it was worth sort of 6 to 8 million, and I offered 10. I clearly didn't have 10, but I thought if I got the horse, I'll find the money. So we offered to buy him or buy half of him. And unfortunately, John Massara had the relationship with Mr. Yassine, and he had the right to match the offer, which he did. But yeah, that sort of those ones hurt, Exceed and Excel. There's been a few sort of interesting cracks at big stallions, and then there's been other ones we pulled off, the Zoo Stars and the Sebrings and General DMs along the way, and Northern Media, and then exciting stallions. You at the moment, you're looking down the roster, Trapeze Artist and Written By, and Russian Camelot, and Doubtland, Anders. All those deals, they're really highly competitive deals, and we're really pleased to secure those horses, and we're pretty excited where they're going to take us.
Yeah, and you might not be able to answer this one, but Terry just asked what sort of price range do the stallions come in, and I'll just add a bit to that. How do you set a fee, I guess, for your stallions based on those?
The fees are really set by understanding the supply and demand, how many mares the stallion's able to cover, or how many we'd like him to cover, and what the market is, and it's the most simple supply and demand curve. If the fee's too low, you've got too many mares and you can't cover them all, and the breeders will get a bit antsy with you because they want to send their mare, and either you won't take her or you can't get her covered the day she needs to be covered, or she won't go and foal, all those sorts of things. And if the fee's too high, you don't get enough mares. So it's a pretty simple thing, and understand the market, where they fit in, and the supply and demand. So, plenty of people that want to say that, a stallion's too dear or too cheap. But at the end of the day, if they're serving books of between 120 and 160 mares, they're probably well priced, and that's probably the market. And so that's what you're sort of aiming to do with your commercial stallions. Obviously, there's some stallions that doesn't matter what the price is, you're not going to get the mares to them. If the stallion's having a quiet run, and it is a fashion thing, like everything in racing, it's fashion, and it's just what happens on the track. So yeah, stallions sort of come in and out of fashion a bit, and that changes pretty quickly. Rebel Dane's a great example. He's a horse that was well and truly out of fashion, and now he's right in fashion. So it turns around with a slipper winner in a hurry. So all those things affect where you are. It's not necessarily what you pay for the stallion. If you buy a stallion really well, or if you pay too much for the stallion, it doesn't really affect the service fee. The breeders who are ultimately sending their mares, they don't care what you paid for the stallion. They just know in their mind what they think it's worth to send their mare.
Yeah, just for those following, Anthony, you touch on commercial a little bit there, but for those that probably don't follow as closely, breeding and racing are quite different. And so a stallion could cover 120 to 160 mares. And I'm not sure what Magnus's numbers are, but ultra popular. And there's horses like that get results, get great support, but maybe aren't as commercial in the sales ring. What could you explain the difference between sales ring and, I guess, popularity in the breeding shed, but the breeding to race, and why that is? Why are some popular but not popular in the sales ring?
Yeah, there's definitely stallions that are, I guess, are more sales ring commercial, and then there's horses that sort of slide under the radar and have a lot of success on the track. Magnus is a great example because he's always been very well priced. He's always been a really successful stallion, but he's never really cracked the massive commercial bracket. And I guess Nakoni and somewhat Star Witness can fit into the same bracket. They're just really solid breed to race horses, and they kind of get their great results. I think the difference is a lot of people see them as good stallions. Maybe you'd geld them and they're not going to get you a son that's going to be a big stallion itself. So when you're looking at Zoostar, Schnitzel, I'm Invincible, people are looking to buy a colt, and the colt syndicates are trying to buy those horses to get the next big stallion and that type of thing. And those horses have the big profile. Whereas Magnus, he's been a fantastic broodmare sire. He's been a fantastic winners to runners. He's been great in Asia. He could be a stallion that you'd say, maybe if he was a younger horse and a bit more marketing emphasis today, he might have, gone to a higher level. But he's always just been a horse that's been really.
Winners have been all geldings. Yeah, that's right.
And Nakoni, I guess, maybe fits that bracket as well, doesn't he?
Yeah,
definitely. His Group 1 winners are gelding as well, so that's same as what Anthony's saying.
Yeah, definitely. They're sort of just those horses, but I guess from an owner's point of view and from stables' point of view, it also represents huge opportunity because, as Robbie said, you can afford to buy really nice horses that maybe you couldn't buy the other stands with a bit more razzmatazz or a bit more sizzle. So you're kind of getting more sausage and less sizzle, so to speak, when you're at the sales. Just shopping smarter and getting yourself a Group 1 horse, but not even to pay, the super $1 million sort of Group 1 money.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Good point.
So Terry's got another question here. He's just asking, altogether, how many brood mares would Widden have? And we've got a fair few questions here, so I might just...
Yeah, I'll whip through them. We've got about 150 mares we own or control, and we're always looking to buy mares. So we're at the sales, the chairman's sales on Friday will be there, and the mare sales on Sunday, and then heading to Queensland and buying privately and online and that. So yeah, always looking to buy buy nice mares and find the next really nice mare. So in that market, we have plenty of clients or partners involved in that as well. So.
Yep, and this one might be pre-Antony buying Widden in Victoria, Robbie, but Queen of Tuscany, which is a fair rente. It's had a couple of impressive trials so far. So Harry just wanted to know any comments.
No, she's going along well. We'll just wait for race day. She can tell us with her form how she's going, but she's a nice young filly doing everything really well.
Yep. And Anthony, in the early years, this is from Dr. Fager. Anthony, the early years from Masqué through to Anabar, I'm assuming that they really set the direction of the farm.
You did in my time, I guess. When I came back, I was very lucky. I guess when Dad passed away, we had Bletchley Vane and Masqué sort of secured under his stewardship. And then when I came back, we probably hadn't been in a position to be as dynamic and be involved in the stand acquisition as much. So the stand roster was a bit tight. And then, we tried to re-vitalise it. And then, we're lucky enough to have horses like Anabar and Barathea, and then General Nadim and local horses. So, some of those early deals, were very exciting for me as a young guy and really rewarding as well.
And how did you come by Northern Meteor? It's from the same person, Dr. Fager.
He was a horse that I tried to buy as a foal or a yearling privately off Mr. Kawenko, and they had Gory Stud, and he was just a magnificent horse, and we'd been trying to buy him and a package of horses. And at the last minute, the deal fell over, and I sort of made Mr. Kawenko, in a bit of a gentleman's deal, promised me if ever he became a stag, he'd stand him a Widden. And to his credit, he did that, a man of his word. He had a lot of other people offering lots of money, but after he won the Coolmore, I went back to Gorey, and I sat back there at his house with Mr. Kawenko on the couch, and we watched the Melbourne Cup, and I knew that every other farm was trying to get Northern Media and buy him, and he'd been had offers from everywhere, and I reminded him of the discussion because I sort of kept reminding him, and we didn't have anything more than a discussion, and he said, "Yeah, I've always said when he's a stand, he can go to Widden, and we'll send him to Widden." So that was very humbling.
That's an incredible story, really, because not easy to do that when everyone's knocking down the door, I imagine. No,
it is a great thing in racing that a man's word means a lot, and a handshake is right. So
absolutely,
there's plenty of old guys out there nod to a bookie and have 10,000 on a horse or something, and it was just done. So, and I think that's really important. We don't forget that with all the contracts and sort of the way life changes. But it's really nice to have people good to their word, and I think that's really important in racing.
Yeah, and Matt, something for yourself as well. Obviously, we had dinner up at the Sydney Easter, and I think it goes without saying something I've recognised, but I remember speaking to you about it. It's just how humble and how easy Anthony was to chat to, and how good he was with his staff for such a big operation. It's probably something that you take for granted, Anthony, but it's definitely a credit to you the way you do that. And Matt, if you want to add in your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, we were just walking around the sales one evening, and Anthony kindly offered us dinner, so we gate crashed his function, and we sat there and just watched how Anthony thanked his loyal clients, and He's very appreciative of everyone, and just comes across as a real true team player. And we're also grateful that he's now in the yard. But I do have a question for Anthony as well. Is there an 8th generation person in the wings?
Yeah, I'm lucky enough, Matthew, to have a son and a daughter who are both keen equestrian riders, and they love the racing and love the farm. So one day, hopefully, they'll get involved as you sort of have. It's entirely up to them what they want to do or where they want to do it. But you know, Sam's in his last year at school, and he's playing a fair bit of rugby and doing a bit of rowing and riding his horse. And Amy's started uni, and she'd rather be with the horses than at uni. But they're doing what they're doing. So hopefully, nothing would be better to be having those guys working alongside you in the business. And you know what it's like. Good people are hard to find. So let's hope so.
And Larry Walls just says, are you seeing any movement with breeders moving more to middle distance horses and away from recent years?
I don't think so. There's always been a fair element of breeders who like to breed middle distance horses, and I think there's definitely that continues. The commercial market is right on speed, and when you get to the sales and in the commercial world, there's a massive premium for early maturing sort of horses and speed horses, but there's always been a good bulk of breeders happy to breed nice middle distance horses, and I think that's, you know, that's healthy, and that'll always be the case.
Yeah. And does Widden participate in, so this is from Peter Lambden, does Widden participate in shuttles doubles? Now, obviously, Zoo Star's a reverse shuttler, but...
We have in the past, and I've sort of looked at at overseas opportunities, and I haven't really found the right one for a while. Obviously, we had success with Anabar and Barathea. There are a couple of others, maybe not so successful. Helicio, we brought down. It was, you know, he did sire Helenas run a Derby. It was a very good horse, but I guess the testing grounds of Australia are very good. You know that they handle our tracks. They've got the temperament to handle our training conditions. They're racing drug free, which is particularly important when they're coming out of America, because you can't be so confident. And on the whole, when you look at the size table, the top 20 stallions year in, year out, as long as I've been at 18 of the 20 are Australian raced horses. So that is a lot more, it's a lot safer looking at the local horses, and you really know what you're getting. But if I found the right shuttle horse, I'd certainly take it again and go back into that market.
Yeah. And what's your favourite time of year, Anthony? Is it the yearling sales or the breeding stock sales? And I guess, how does that work for you guys? When do you ever stop?
It's probably neither. It's probably the no sales time of year when we're at home on the farm. The season's on, you know. When you get into September, the stallions are covering, the mares are foaling, and you don't have to go to any sales. That's kind of an amazing time of the year. By the time January comes around, you're really looking forward to getting the Magic Millions and get back at it. And that's you know, those big yearling sales is really, it's important for us. They're you know, to get the horses right and to, you know, see themselves fantastic. And the breeding stock sales are a lot more low key. We're just there trying to buy, and we're working hard. So yeah, I guess I'd probably go in that order. That, yeah, we love the season and the production. The yearling sales are great, and then yeah, you work through the breeding stock sales. But yeah, we're lucky that, you know, it's always something different happening. There's always plenty happening. It's always something different.
Yeah, and I guess touching on the yearling sales, you have a really large draft in most of the major sales, all of the major sales. You know, how do you choose where you place your yearlings, and how many of those drafts are generally Widden horses as opposed to those that you're consigning for others?
Yeah, most of them are Widden horses now. We're not consigning too many from outside, because just the numbers we're breeding now, and particularly the Victorian farm coming on. So yeah, we'll take 40 to Magic Millions and sort of 50 odd Classic. We had 40 in Melbourne, a few in Adelaide, Easter, I think we were 23. So yeah, we kind of looking at the pedigree and the sort of type you've got. You try and put them in the sale where they'll slot in well and represent you well. You know, you don't want to try not to have the horses at the tail of the field. You want to have them in the middle to the top of the pack. And when you do your entries in August for young horses that we're going to sell back in January through to April, it's hard to get it right all the time, but that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And do you guys participate in the weanling market at all, Anthony?
Yeah, we don't sell a lot of weanlings. If I've bred a horse and I like it, I want to keep it, grow it out in my paddocks, look after it and present it as a yearling. And I'm sort of really proud of our paddocks and our pastures, and I want to give that horse every opportunity. So it's a bit to my detriment with the new stallion. Like a first season sire, everyone says, oh, you should sell your 5 best Zusane foals at this foal sale. That's great, and people see them, it promotes my horse, but then I don't know where they go or what happens to them. And I'm a bit of a control freak. I want to keep them at home in my paddocks, in my fences, in my pastures, and then present them as nice yearlings, and they'll go to nice trainers, and they get every chance from there. So we're not selling any foals here. We do buy a few foals. There's a syndicate called Redwall, and we kind of involved with that. So we'll buy a few foals and do a bit of trading there. But the pin hooking, you know, it's tricky enough. You know, everyone sees the great result. You know, they paid 50 grand and sold it for 500, but there's that's the one. You know, there's 99 who didn't. So we take a bit of a spread, and we might buy 10 foals, and across the spread, you know, the return, if you get it right, you know, there's a few bucks there, but it's nothing spectacular. It's just a bit of a side hustle, and just while you're at the sales, I think some of the guys, you know, on younger guys have been on the farm, and a few people get involved, and yeah, it's a bit of high stakes poker, a bit of a thrill.
Yeah, and Sean Lockwood's just asking about covering season for broodmares, but if you could just maybe run us quickly through the process of booking in a broodmare to a stallion.
Yeah, Sean, just give us a call or send us a message. We'll take her. It's sort of where it started now. We've announced our fees. We're busy on that side. So a lot of breeders are looking at their matings. They're asking us for advice. I've got this mare, you know, who do you think she'll suit? She's by Sebring, she's by Magnus, who will she suit? We'll do some matings, we'll give them some advice, what she's like on type, what their budget is. So, you know, we're happy to try and work with the breeders to find something that's going to work for them and give them a good result. We want to see the breeders hit the mark and breed a nice horse and be successful, whether it's in the sale ring or on the racetrack, or hopefully both. But so yeah, we're happy to work with them, and that's happening now right through the season. You know, we'll get people who foal up in September and say, my mare foaled last week and she's coming back into season, and what have you got that's available, sort of thing. So there's plenty of people who do it different ways, but you know, we've got myself and Adam and Phil down there, and Matty Comerford up here. We're always there and happy to talk to you guys about it and work out what we need to do.
Yeah, and Jim Allen just says, Yankee Rose had a short but successful career. Do you know where she is now?
Yeah, she was a great one. We sold her for 11,000, and she was a superstar, multiple Group 1 winner, and she was sold to Japan, I think, for maybe 2 or 3 million. So I think she's had 1 or 2 foals in Japan, or maybe even rising 2-year-old in Japan. So she'd be coming round to being, hopefully there'll be something running out of her, or we might even be able to run her in Japan soon. So I know she's up there at Shadow.
And I mean, you're probably not allowed to tell every story, but what's the craziest situation you've been in during a negotiation?
Oh God. That's a question without notice.
Yeah.
There's been some tricky ones.
Or a story of negotiating a stadium or something like that that people wouldn't know and just think, wow, does that really happen?
Yeah, there's a few I told on that TDM podcast where I guess we were dealing with Nick Moritas on Exceed and Excel, and Nick has the fruit markets out at the fruit markets there, and he sells a lot of fruit and veg, so Might and Power fame. And I was there, I had sort of Jerry Harvey in my corner, and we were bidding as Godolphin. And as the price of Exceed and Excel kept going up, we kept sort of getting shuffled out of the room while they would ring Henry Plumtree and ask them, they'd say Widden's offered, all these confidential negotiations where you weren't allowed to tell anyone anything. I'm sure Nick was ringing up saying Widden's offered 15 and they were offering 16, and then he'd come back to me and say, oh, they've offered 16, I'd offer 17. This went on and on and on. Anyway, when it got to about 25 million, Jerry pulled the pin, and I walked out very deflated, and I'd sort of driven down early that morning. I'd worked all day. It was dark, and I'd walked out sort of this fruit markets, nothing to show from a day. I thought we were going to own Exceed and Excel at the end of the day. And Nick called me back in and said, oh, thanks, son. You've done well. I'll give you a bag of potatoes. So he handed me a bag of potatoes, and I couldn't believe it. I was just stunned. I thought, what the hell? Walked downstairs, put the bag into the car park, put the bag of potatoes in the boat, went to drive out, and the security guard stopped me and he said, where are you going? I said, oh, getting the hell out of here. He said, no, you put something in the boot. What'd you put in the boot? I said, I put a bag of potatoes. He said, why? I said, oh, Nick gave them to me. He said, Nick doesn't give anyone potatoes. And he said, I'll have to take them out of the boot, and I'll have to call up and get permission and all this stuff. So he opened the boot, he got the potatoes out, and he wanted to ring up and speak to Nick. I said, mate, you can keep your effing potatoes. And I drove down the road, and I remember thinking, Christ, what a day I've had, and I didn't even get a potato to show for it. And there are lots of sort of crazy people you come across in this game, and great people, great stories, great fun. You're dealing with Jerry Harvey on one hand and Nick Moritas on the other. And, there's plenty of people in between. So we are lucky, and that's, I guess, the great thing about buying a share in a horse and getting involved. You're going to meet some great people and have a lot of fun.
So, Robbie, just if you gather yourself, are there any other questions we might ask Antony before we let him go?
Oh, there's plenty. I mean, how can you jam 150 plus years into 1 hour? I think it's been amazing. I think it's been fantastic. If we could keep Antony for another half a dozen hours. So there's plenty, but no, I think it's been fantastic that Antony's made time available for all of us. So plenty to ask, but I won't. But thank you from myself, and I'm sure Matt and all of us will say thanks. But I've had a great time. Thanks, Antony.
Yeah, thank you, Antony.
And Matt?
No,
any other questions?
Thanks. No questions. I've loved listening to you, Antony. Lots of knowledge and lots of history. So thanks very much for your time.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure to come on, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you guys a bit more in the stable. Obviously known Robbie for a long time, but I've known Matthew's dad for a good while, and always enjoyed Mike's when he's around. He's always got plenty to say, and he's good humour and good banter. And I see the way he's guided Matthew, and getting to know Matthew is a real pleasure. So thanks, Corey, for organising it and having us on. And we look forward to being a part of the stable, and hopefully we get to have a few good celebrations and plenty of fun along the way.
Thanks very much, Antony. I think I speak on behalf of everybody that's watching as well. It's been fantastic. We do have a little bit more to go, guys. It's just Antony is up at the sales and he's quite busy, so I promised him that we'd let him go after half hour, and he's given us an hour. So
I'm outstayed, but welcome. Sorry, guys.
So I'll look out for the I'll look out for the invoice. But I've just launched a poll as well, Antony, and I'll let you know who wins. But I've just asked who's the most popular from our followers on the stallion. So I'll let you know how that goes. But thanks very much, and you're welcome to log out, and we'll chat to you in the next week, I'm sure.
All right, look forward to seeing you down there soon, guys. Cheers.
Good on you. Thanks,
Thanks
Anthony.
very
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, bye.
Bye.
All right, well, that was pretty impressive, Robbie. So now we'll follow up with you guys, which are probably slightly, I've cut the horse's head off, unfortunately, there, so that's a good start post Anthony.
Oh, can you drag that pen a bit, can you?
I can't actually drag it, no, but anyway,
Oh.
I was just thinking on Magnus. He's such a good sire for our stable, and obviously Anthony touched on him as well. And I look through what we have available. Only Magnus
He made some really good points with that, because that's because his Group 1 horses have all been geldings. That's why the stay-in buyers don't they don't pay a lot of money thinking, well, he's only going to get geldings, which makes this horse and other horses like Magnus's that we buy far more affordable, which is a very, very good point that Anthony makes. So, which is on the flip side, so much better for our owners that want to buy a successful racehorse without paying too much. So horses like this guy and Halvorsen and King Magnus and all them become so much more affordable with all the bonuses. So it's a win-win for horses like this,
Yeah, and so this guy is a 2-year-old, so he's actually shouldn't be that far away, obviously. Where is he in his preparation at the moment, Robbie?
He actually galloped well Saturday morning. He breezed up with an older horse that's more experienced. So he's learning and doing well. So he's well on the way to, he could be, 3 or 4 weeks off having a trial, depending on how quickly he learns and shin soreness and all those sorts of things. But he's a very strong horse. He's got he's actually a lot stronger than King Magnus and Halvorsen at the same stage. So we don't know a lot about his talent yet, but he did gallop well on Saturday morning. So he's tracking the right way, which is very good.
He's actually a bargain. I think he's about $3,500 for 5%. So he's well priced, and he's obviously, although Magnus's do take a little bit of time, he's already 2, so he's not a yearling. He's actually a 2-year-old.
He's a year ahead of
12 months ahead.
12 months ahead.
And Matt, we also have a Cepedo, which I haven't got on here, but Anthony started talking about the Cepedos, and it made me think that we actually do have a Cepedo out of a Reduced Choice mare, which only has around 20, I think it might be 10% left in him. But we certainly love the Widden sires, don't we?
We do, and I think Anthony said Cepedo has six runners and a couple of winners already, so he's started very well, and just shows you that he's popular. If we only have 10% left, Corey, so hopefully we get that moved on. But definitely the sires that are all coming from Widden, we've managed to secure a good few horses from them this year, from those sires, and we're really excited about them.
And I think the thing with the Widden sires is they are so difficult to get your hands on because they're so popular. But I'm just looking at the poll that I just put up. So obviously Zoostar's the most popular, which makes sense. He's an absolute champion. But after that, you've got a really even split of popularity between Doubtland, Rebel Dane, Zousane, Nakoni, Trapeze Artist. They're all popular there. And then you go to the Victorians, and obviously Magnus is the most popular, but that's because the people watching will probably be owners of Magnus, as I'd say, being in our stable. But it's just a really great, to be honest.
It's a great cross-section of stallions for owners in both states, isn't it? So
it was fantastic listening to Anthony, to be honest. So it was really good. And then Robbie, I just wanted to touch on this one. So that's your brother there riding Alpha, and you sent me a text during the week saying, "Can you please put away 10% for myself in this impending filly?" And you sent me a photo of the filly in the paddock next to Alpha, and it almost identical in colouring, size, just everything. So I thought I'd pop that one on there as well, because we've only got 20% remaining, and I thought it's probably a good one to mention tonight.
Yeah, if you look at the video of her walking up and down, that's my brother winning the Group 1 Caulfield Guineas for Bart Cummings on Alpha. He was it's a very special moment for me, that one.
Yeah.
But
So,
they're like peas in a pod, those two. When you
but
watch her walk around, and she's got the same little star on her head, same colour, same shape, same build, and you see him run. He was an absolute champion. He won the Group 1 Guineas that day, and she's got the same build, same everything. So yeah, I was showing my brother, and he loved her, and she runs like him. It'd be good.
yeah, so we'll move on from these pretty quickly, but I just, guys, if you want more information, it's all on our website.
It's very well related. There's so many fillies in that family doing so well, and there's a So You Think that we paid, Matt and I paid $260 for him out of that same family. So that 20% should be snapped up. She's a good investment, that filly.
Yeah, she's a bit of a bargain, so well under the price. Stable news. So Matt, you've really had an hour of listening to Antony and myself and Robbie. So let's get you to do the stable news.
We got too mesmerised with that, didn't we? We too busy listening. We could have listened to that for hours, I reckon.
But yeah, Matt. So stable news. What's been happening? Anything interesting in these last? We've got a lot of youngsters in there at the moment, and a lot of trials. The last 2 weeks have been busy for you.
Yeah, we had, I think it was 19 jump outs last week, Monday, and another 13 this Monday. So there's lots of young horses coming through. And whilst they're coming through, we still got a good showing from the older horses. We're busy preparing Halvorsen for the Goodwood and hopefully bring the stars for the Derby down in Adelaide. So that's exciting times coming up. But through this winter period, we're going to be nice and patient with our young horses, and hopefully when it comes spring, summertime, they're going to blossom like the flowers and how nature does. Everything's just going to spring to action. But yeah, some nice young ones to look forward to, and it's easy waking up in the mornings these days.
And Robbie, a lot of people were sort of asking during the yearling sale season, we'll just wait because, we basically buy at every yearling sale. There's all, we did a lot of buying this year. And so a lot of people are thinking, we'll wait until they finish their buying and then we'll have a look at what we like and buy. But safe to say other than if something jumps out that's a complete bargain, it would be safe to say that our buying at this stage is done in terms of yearling sales.
Yeah, correct. And I hope that those that said that have successfully secured their share of preference, because they do run the risk of possibly missing out on the one that they like or they wanted. We've been aggressive last year and this year, and we need to be aggressive each year moving forward. And I think that people have sort of been attracted to that strategy, and they've been buying shares, as you know, because you're in charge of that. So hopefully those that have sat back haven't sat back too long, because there is bits and pieces of shares available, of course, but they're not always the one that they want. So I don't think that's always a good idea to do that. So there will be bits and pieces of horses come available, but I don't think there's a lot left. That's your job, Corey. I'm not always 100% sure what's available, but I don't think there's a lot left, is there?
No, I think out of everything we bought, there's 17% left out of everything in terms of overall. So little bits and pieces in horses, but yeah, definitely act as quickly as you can, guys, because there won't be another crop coming or anything like that.
Because a lot of the ones that we're racing at the moment are being sold off. There's a lot of horses that are in lower level racing that are racing to win and sold off, or they're being placed and sold off or going to the breeding barn. Some of the fillies will go off to the breeding barn. And so some of the horses that are racing at the moment, or a lot of them that are racing, are on an exit strategy. So like any sporting culture, football is a classic example in the AFL. You have to keep refreshing your players and get new players in so that you can have a fresh young team that has young, fast legs to carry you through for the next upcoming seasons. And we're only 2 years into that, and a lot of those haven't raced yet. So a lot of the ones that are racing are on the way as an exit out. So those horses, those owners are going to buy a lot of those shares that Corey's talking about. So, if you haven't purchased one of the ones that you like, it's probably a good idea talk to Corey now.
And Matt, I mean, obviously we had Antony on tonight. It's sometimes hard to pick guests to come on to the webinars because you don't want to look like you're supporting one farm over others or anything like that. But I mean, they're such a big brand, Widden, but it just shows we could go to pretty much any farm now and where sort of the team is definitely being received differently, and you can feel that at the sales now. Would that be a fair comment to make? I mean, do you feel like we're sort of getting the support now and we're getting the attention of all those big farms across the board, not just Widden?
Yeah, well, that's probably due to our aggressiveness at the sales, Corey. We've been, really strong. The team is out there in the gear, really making a big team effort. We're being noticed. We're having success on the racetrack with the old horses and the young ones. So the momentum is starting to roll, and people are starting to notice it. And we've got people have a healthy respect for the brand now, Griffiths to Cock Racing, and I think it's only going to go from strength to strength. And when you got people like Antony, who's a 7th generation, Hunter Valley farmer, now supporting the stable, it's only the start of things to come. Arrowfield, they've kept shares in horses. Coolmore's kept shares in horses. So the big players are joining the team, and we still have our loyal clients. So we're really building a nice string, and I'm sure we're going to be ready to fire soon.
Yeah, and I guess, Robbie, it is a balancing act with that type of thing, isn't it? So keeping everyone happy as well as getting all of their support at once.
I think the biggest trend that you listen to with Antony that Matthew just spoke about then with those big farms is that, as all farmers do, they grow and watch the harvest, come to fruition, and when they see that energy, they want to get on board, and things take a while to grow. But the future belongs to those that plan for it. When you plan for it, the right people will support those plans, and that's what you're talking about. Coolmore, Arrowfield, Widden, they can see that plan. So that plan started last year, and it's only 14 months in because we've only just started at Gold Coast last January. So we started that buying then, so they can see that those seeds growing, as Matthew said. So we just got to wait for that harvest to come to fruition. So we're going to keep buying, like Antony did when he was a young, like he said earlier in the show, he had to go out and be aggressive. And when Jack Ingham said to him, go out and do this, same thing. So we, once these young ones mature, we're away and going. So if we keep doing it next year and the year after, by this stage, they'll all fall into place, so it's really exciting.
Yeah. By the young ones, you mean the horses, not Matthew, yeah?
Well, he's doing it too. He's got Liam. He'll have another one and another one, so away we go.
All right. We might wrap it up, guys, because I think we're far more boring than Antony. He stole the show a little bit. He was fantastic, I thought. So thanks again for coming on, guys.
Corey, before we go, do you reckon we should buy him a spud next time we see him?
We definitely should buy him a bag of potatoes. Yeah, that would actually. I think he'd appreciate it. Funnily enough,
we might have to duck. He might throw him at us, though, mightn't he?
I'd say so. Yeah. So anyway, thanks again, guys, for joining us, and thanks everybody who tuned in live. Hopefully, you really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, good on you. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining.
Cheers, everybody.